Welcome everyone, it is John, and I am back with another adventure. And today marks episode 2 of my one tank trip series, and it takes place right here in Rocky Top, Tennessee, formerly known as Lake City. And even before that, it was known as Coal Creek. Now this town had to overcome a lot of adversity early on in its history. And some of those events are the Coal Creek Wars, which we're going to dive into, and the Ville mine disaster, which killed over 200 men. But there's good things about this town too. So we're going to talk about the tragic history and the coolness of it today. So guys, follow me. Now this town was founded in the mid-1800s, and it was founded on coal. Had a overwhelming population of Welsh settlers who came in and started mining in this town. And the hills behind me here, as you see, lots of mountains back in this valley, is just littered with old mine shafts. For the most part, they've all been sealed off. But we're going to explore, and I'm going to show you one of those locations later, which is the Ville mine. But we're better to start than the Coal Creek Miners Museum. We're going to check this out, guys, and it's going to give us a little bit of history to start out. And I want to take you around to different points of the town and give you a little bit of history of it. So let's go. Okay, so here's the display. This is where we're at here. And this shows where a lot of the mines were. This is the Ville mine. I've actually filmed here before at the Cross Mountain mine. We're going to try to get close as we can to some of these locations. Even Drummond Bridge is right here. So we're going to check all that out. The cemetery with the miner circles right in this area. So we got a lot of, and then Militia Hill, which is also a spot we're going to check out while we're here. But pretty cool diorama here. We got some old miners' tools, some models here, a lot of photography. There's the miner circle, which we're going to visit, and there's the cannon. And Militia Hill we're going to go visit as well. Here's some hand-carved coal. I actually have a little train at home similar to that, but smaller. And below this we got mine script, which was essentially how coal miners were paid. It was good to purchase goods in the mining camp where they were at. Here's a variety of safety equipment used in mining. And even a canary was used early on to help detect dangerous gases. Check out some of this mine equipment here. Some of the old lighting they used to use. There's an example of a hat with a lamp, a wick lamp they would have used to light up inside the mine. Check out some of these tools, blacksmith tools. Here's some artifacts found. Now, Ville, which we're going to talk more about later, was a terrible mine disaster that actually killed over 200 men, some of which were trapped and suffocating and actually left letters to their families. And we'll look over some of those later. Leaving a lot of women and children without fathers and husbands. Got some old photographs here, some safety lamps. I believe these are the ones.
Through the glass?
Yeah. These are the ones that would, the flame would increase if they were getting any extra gas, if I'm not mistaken.
If you want to get better shots, you can open these up.
Oh yeah, check that out. It's helping them detect gas leaks.
Feel free to slide them the other way if you need to.
Check out these lamps down here. Some old tools.
Step into the restroom.
And here in the lobby, they got a massive block of coal. How cool is that? So we're going to start by discussing the Coal Creek Wars. Now what happened was, in the 1870s, Knoxville Iron, which is a company, first company to put coal mines here, resulting in a wealth of Welsh settlers coming in and working in the mines. So this whole place was founded on coal mining. And you had all these settlers who they depended on the income of working in the mine. So a recession hit, to make a long story short. And Knoxville Iron had to start making cuts in salary. So the miners went on strike to try to get their wages back so they can support their families. However, this kind of backfired. So they sent in prisoners to work the coal for free labor, essentially. And so, you know, the people here, the men got frustrated. They got tired of their wages not being paid to them. They all lost their jobs, essentially. So it became a struggle. So they gathered together and they took all these prisoners, put them on a train and shipped them back to Knoxville, and sent a telegram to the governor saying, listen, we're not going to accept any more prisoners here taking our jobs. We want our jobs back. In result, the governor sent the Tennessee State Militia in to kind of resettle things down. But all it did was start the Coal Creek Wars, which people out of Kentucky and all over Tennessee, over 2,500 men gathered together to fight against the state militia in this war. And where I'm standing at now is where the last battle happened. This is Fort Anderson on Militia Hill. Now, the miners lost that battle, but they wound up winning the war that resulted in Brushy Mountain State Prison being built and their own coal mining camps being done over in the neighboring city. So a lot of cool history here that kind of all ties together. But I'm going to show you around. There's a cool cannon up here behind me that I'm going to show you and show you where this battle took place. As you see now, it's just a quiet, open patch in the woods here. We're going to walk right over here where this cannon still lies. They restored a cannon and put it back up here and made this a place for people to come and visit. And they call this the Y. And hopefully you'll be able to see here in just a second. If you stand here and look, if you take these trees, you'll see two mountains come down and make a Y shape. And right through here, as we zoom in, you can see the heart of downtown Rocky Top, which at the time was called Coal Creek. So they had a strong position up here that they could fire up on the town. Now, a lot of the stories say that they would fire like cans of rotten meat and things just to be mean to the locals here and show their authority over them. And this is one of the cannons that was up here. But this, you can even see the trenches dug out over here. So they had the high ground for sure. So anyone coming up the hill, they would have the trenches here where they could lay and fire on them as they had to fight uphill in this battle. But yeah, this is it. And this all led to the legendary haunting of Drummond Bridge, which is where we're going to go to next. But first, let's take a close look at this cannon. Very well restored. All steel. I'm gonna put my fist inside here. It's a very authentic. This is where it'd hook up to the horses, or actually no, up there's where it would hitch on, and they'd be able to pull the cannons around. It's really awesome to see. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can still maneuver. You can still maneuver the barrel and even adjust the settings here. I bet it could still be fired. They even got the wick hole here. How cool is that, guys? Along many miles of abandoned railroad track here lies this railroad bridge, deemed the Drummond Bridge. Now, there was a man by the name of Dick Drummond. Now, you got to understand, during the Coal Creek Wars, the Tennessee State Militia, the men would constantly harass and try to proposition the local town's women. Well, one man decided he wasn't going to put up with it. They messed with the wrong girl. It was Dick Drummond. he stood up for the ladies. He stood in and said, no, you're not going to do this anymore. So it did not end well for him, though. The militia took him here and lynched him on this bridge and hung him from the bridge right here behind me, right in the dead center, right where I'm pointing right here. And let him hang there for days so anyone coming by would see him as an example. And to me, that was an unnecessary loss of life during this war, but you know, they wanted to prove a point that you're not going to mess with the militia, and they did. They hung him right here and left him here as an example for a long period of time. Now, to this day, this bridge is famous for being haunted. They say the ghost of Dick Drummond, the restless spirit, roams this bridge at night. And if you come here at the right time, you might be able to see him. So maybe we'll have to explore that at some point. But for now, we're just going to leave it as a mystery. Okay, so back here behind me is where the Ville mine is and was. They've filled in the mine shaft that's no longer visible, but this is where it was. This is where the disaster happened. And you know, you could see the old photos of, you know, the buildings that was here in the mine. And like I said, it was such a terrible disaster because, you know, in 1902 all these men walked into work, and then this explosion happened, ultimately killing over 200 of them. About 10 miners were trapped inside, and they were able to write notes. They knew they were going to die. They were losing oxygen. So they wrote these notes to their families and loved ones, you know, saying their final goodbyes. And, you know, here is some of those notes right now for you to kind of look at. As sad as that is, the silver lining is that kick-started nationwide, worldwide really, the start of mine safety and really focusing on the safety of miners inside of these mines. Which leads us to the next disaster. Only 9 years later, another disaster happened that was nearly as tragic as this. Right here on this hill lies the Miners' Circle. These are miners who passed away in the Ville disaster. And the reason it's in a circle is it's a Welsh tradition to be buried in a circle-like formation. So, given the majority of the miners were Welsh immigrants, they honored them in their homeland ways. They kind of become a, you know, a way of mine disasters. They always bury them in circles, I believe. But this is all the men who died May 19th, 1902. Well, that's sad. It's not all of them. This is a good number of them, but this is it. This is a monument that's been erected in honor of the victims of that mine disaster. It's got all their names around it. If you look, you see the circle that encompasses us right here of all the miners who perished that sad day. So sitting behind me here is what remains of the Cross Mountain Mine. Now there was another disaster just 9 years after Ville. There was another mine explosion that killed 87 men. But the silver lining to this one was the advances and the progress they made in mine safety from the Ville disaster. They were actually able to save men from this disaster that beforehand would have just been lost. So, you know, it was a big step forward in mine safety, although there still was a great loss of life here. So the town was reeling once again after just starting to lick its wounds from the Ville mine disaster. then this one hit. And fortunately, since then, they've been disaster free. They don't really even mine coal here anymore. But, you know, just to know that was a huge step forward in mine safety was Freighterville than this. I mean, nationwide, Freighterville set off a chain of events that created a lot more mine safety procedures for the coal miners. But that's it. That's you know, the resolution, the end of, you know, the disastrous coal history here in the old Coal Creek era. There's a smokestack in a building here, and an old staircase that led to one of the main buildings here. There was once a military base here that actually had a skyway that led to the top of this mountain to an air base, a radar base. Now the whole point of this base was because of Knoxville's secret city. Now this really dives into a lot of conspiracy, but Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is a nearby city, was a city that was secretly built by the government to start the X-10 project, or some people know as the Manhattan Project. X-10 reactor that was part of the Manhattan Project back in the 50s. Now, this was kept under wraps. Now, everyone knew something was going on because the government moved in, they fenced off this large area, and essentially built an entire city for this nuclear plant. However, this base here lies as a remnant of the radar air base that sat on top of the mountain to protect it. Now, I did film a video of that base up on top of the mountain, and I will link it if you guys want to go watch it, as well as the Cross Mountain mine disaster that I spoke of earlier. I actually filmed a video of that as well, if you want to see me explore that mine temple and show you exactly where the old mine shaft was. But yeah, a little bit of cool history here. There was actually a base on top of this mountain that was a radar base designed to protect and see who's coming in and out of Oak Ridge when it was still the secret city. All right, as we venture back into town, we'll talk about a little bit of a brighter part of the history here of Coal Creek. Well, now Rocky Top, but I still like to call it Coal Creek. But anyways, guys, there was a movie filmed here in the 80s. It was a sequel to one of the biggest blockbusters of all time, one of the most iconic movies, and that was King Kong. This movie was called King Kong Lives, and it was filmed right here in Rocky Top. Now I'm going to show you a couple angles here and line them up to give you a perspective. There was one shot right in here, but it probably would have been higher up on a crane because you can see the bridge, and I think they've redone the building here, but you can see all that in a shot very similar to this right here. Check it out. Now the King Kong Lives starred Linda Hamilton, as you may know from her role as Sarah Connor in the Terminator series. There was also another angle from this direction, and I know that angle is because this sign up here was a Piggly Wiggly sign, and it actually pans up to see Linda Hamilton in an airplane flying over. So this is close to the other. See what you think. I'll give you the screen grab from the movie and this shot here. As I return to downtown, I can't help but wonder, as I look across all these buildings, how many people actually know the deep, tragic history that went on here. This town had to overcome so much adversity throughout history to remain a town. Now it's a really prosperous town. Now they did change the name to Rocky Top in order to try drawing more tourism, and actually had a little bit of a hiccup there because the owners of the rights to the song Rocky Top actually sued the town for trying to take that name, but ultimately the town won and is now Rocky Top, Tennessee. The town's structures have not seen very many upgrades throughout history. As you can see, some of the old school architecture around. But so far, my favorite thing I've seen is this vintage restaurant sign. It still has a lot of the neon on it. It would be really awesome to see this restored. Check that out, guys. That is so awesome. You can even zoom in here and see all the old neon is still intact. I think all of it's still there. Most of the bulbs are there. And you can see the building is, oh wow. If you look through here, There's nothing inside anymore. The building has collapsed. Inside, it's just the walled facade is all that is left. Then we got some old school storefronts here. This is actually, looks to be available. The old storefront window shopping. Really cool. Cool, nostalgic little town. Now, that leads me to next order, food. We always gotta find somewhere good to eat. And I have just the spot. Right beside the Coal Creek Miners Museum was the Coal Creek Smokehouse. And even got the miner pig as you walk down this little alleyway to this old school house that has been converted into a really incredible barbecue restaurant. Guys, I am starving. It is time to eat. They have a large variety of sauces for you to taste and enjoy. You always gotta do the burnt ends as a starter. I'm gonna pick out what I want. Alright guys, check this out. This is the burnt ends. Definitely a must-have here. They are amazing. Might have been a bit off more than I can chew, but I'm gonna do my best. Look at this. Potato wedges, hash brown casserole, ribs, and brisket. Let's dig in, guys. Well, that was a delicious barbecue meal. Highly recommend. If you're ever in this area, definitely hit it up. Oh, I'm full. Need a nap. All right. That is Rocky Top, Tennessee, guys. As I close this episode out, I really appreciate your viewership. If you like these one tank trip episodes, I got plenty more in mind. Give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think about these videos. But guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the history, the unique aspects of this town, and some really good barbecue as well. But with that being said, guys, if you want to help support this channel, I sell t-shirts, I have a Patreon, I have PayPal, I'll have all that in the description down below. And until next time, guys, I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.